today on the Nostalgia Time program, I have a very special guest with me at the moment. She is actually starting with the Nostalgia Time show, and yours truly, John Lyle, would like to welcome Miss Dragonfly to the program, who's going to tell us a lot of very interesting things. Hello.
Hello, John, and it's great to be here. Changing time slots, and will be our new show.
You used to be on... Well,
on the Mondays.
A couple of other days, but mainly with Bob.
Mondays, yes.
Yeah, with Bob Brown.
Yes. So it will be Wednesday from now on at this time.
That's good. I hope that a lot of people are interested in what you have to say.
A lot of people find it interesting because it is such to a lot of people, a mysterious subject, delving into the metaphysics of all.
You're already beyond me.
So, well, when people hear that, there are numerous reactions and perceptions. Some people get very interested and want to know more.
Yes.
And some people never kind of gave much thought to it. And there's some people that are quite skeptical.
Yes, well, it is a very interesting subject, I must admit, and a lot of people don't know a great deal about things that are mysterious.
Yes, so for that, when we say metaphysics, it usually covers people who are more familiar with astrology. And I suppose with the Western metaphysics, there are a number of psychics and tarot readings, and they do numerology as well. And that's quite widely well known. The other thing that isn't so well known is the Eastern metaphysics, which also do get astrology, face reading, divination, and... the one subject a lot of people, if they haven't heard, they don't know much about, they have at least heard of, which is Feng Shui.
Yes.
Have you heard much about it? Do you know much about it?
I don't know much about it, but I have heard of it, yes.
So today we're starting on the very big subject of Feng Shui. What do you know about it?
Oh, just that I know that in some places it's good to have water, a stream of water maybe nearby, and maybe have a mirror. Am I close or...
And actually, that's what the limit of most people's knowledge about it is.
Yes.
Is because it's what they hear, I guess, in some parts of the media and a lot in women's magazines.
Well, I presume that you are going to tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, so certainly will. So I'll go right back to the beginning of the oranges because I found a lot of the information that is out there is not true Feng Shui.
Yep.
As you can probably imagine and probably guess, it's more popcorn stuff, a popcorn version. Okay. And a lot of it is actually quite false. I mean, things like I read in the magazine, in women's magazines, it suggests changing the place you put your shoes would improve your love life. There's no such thing as that.
Oh,
it's
okay.
really ridiculous, much more than that.
Yes. All right, then.
All right, Feng Shui. What does Feng Shui mean? Well, it literally means wind and water. And as you might expect, there is a lot of that in the practice of Feng Shui. And a lot of people are familiar with water and how important water is, as you mentioned. All right, what it is, it's actually an ancient Chinese knowledge. It's simply the study of the influences of the environment on human destiny. And it's very big on, well, not just very big, essentially on energy flows throughout nature and the environment and how we can direct these energies so that we can direct it to our benefit. Basically, utilizing nature and to better improve our lives. Now, we use nature quite a bit as it is, don't we? We take resources from nature.
Well, yes, of course. Yeah.
Harness the sun, dig out the iron ore and the minerals, and then extract all the oil.
Yes.
To make our lives better.
Yes, we do. We also absorb the sun.
Yes.
By various means. For heat as well as power.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is actually harnessing it in a different way. It's using the natural energy flows of nature. Now, Feng Shui being so old, there is some debate as to how it got started and exactly when it started. The basic texts on Feng Shui have existed for over 4,000 years. There are Neolithic tombs from about 6,000 years ago that was found in China that had markings that are still used in contemporary Feng Shui today. So they're quite old. Oh yes, and being that they're here, just wanted to clarify and clear up something. A lot of people make the incorrect assumption that Feng Shui is linked to Buddhism or somehow a part of it, because I guess they see...
Well, is it?
No, absolutely no. If you look at the timescale. Some elements of it existed 6,000 years ago, and Buddha was only born 2,500 years ago.
Oh,
So purely from maths alone, you can see.
I know that now, but I didn't know it before.
But yeah, seeing it just from the mathematical link and the chronology as it is, you say no, there's no way. It did not come from Buddhism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this misconception came from when people see Chinese are mostly Buddhists. A lot of Chinese are Buddhists, but they also practice Feng Shui.
Yeah.
So just because of that, they tend to link the two. I guess that's where the misconception comes from.
There's nothing wrong with Buddhism the way I see it. I think that it's a very peaceful type of understanding.
Yes.
In a religious way, I suppose you could say.
Yeah, it is. However, it does not have anything to do with Feng Shui. So
Right.
just clearing up the misconception.
Good.
Yeah.
Feng Shui is not a religion?
It is actually, as I mentioned, an ancient Chinese knowledge and art, and even in some respects considered a science.
Okay.
Okay?
Good.
That was an ancient science,
Yes.
as it was understood. Now, the most important book on Feng Shui was written about 250 AD, and it was called The Book for Burial. This is the part where a lot of people do not know, because Feng Shui, originally, it was utilized for burial practices.
All right.
Yeah, for selecting the correct site to bury your dead.
Yes.
And the reason why that was so important is because the burial of the dead had the effect on the descendants' fortunes.
What importance does Feng Shui have in regards to, well, the normal person's residence or
Yeah, we'll come back to that
place
later.
of business?
A lot, but we'll come back. I'm getting to that. So
Right.
we're going on the origins first.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it was written for, and not well. I guess practically no one in the general public really understands that or
Yes.
knows that. I mean, that's a surprise to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much. That's why people get very picky. Can get very picky as to where they bury their parents,
Yes.
because that's going to affect their fortune. Now, just to demonstrate, do you know of Sun Yat-sen?
No.
Okay, he was basically the founding father of China. Was the first president of China after it stopped becoming a monarchy.
Yes.
Okay. Now, after his mother died, she was buried in the correct Feng Shui format. It's a specific way, a location, because it depended on landscapes formations at the back of you as well. She was buried in that way. The next year, he became president.
Yes.
Yes. Just to demonstrate how strong the effects is, now the masters at Feng Shui experts have gone back and had a look at it. She wasn't quite as correctly as it could have been. And I guess that's why his career was quite militaristic. Eventually he died from cancer. Wasn't quite correct. But the effect was so strong that the political party that he founded, so after the loss, you're aware of the history as in the nationalists fought with the communists over China?
Yeah.
Yeah. So after they lost, they fled to Taiwan. Okay? So the political party that he founded is now in Taiwan. It's still there. In about the year 2000, I think it was 2000 or 2001, the cover on his mother's tomb collapsed on itself. Collapsed in. Broke and collapsed. Then at the same time, that political party lost the election.
Oh, that's a bit strange.
Strange, you can say. Some people may say it's a coincidence, but after they realized that happened, they repaired it, and then they got back to power. So I guess you can imagine that political party would be taking care of that tomb very well.
Yes, I'll say.
Yeah, I'll say.
But what was the reason that it collapsed in?
Oh, it might have been, it's very old.
Too old.
Too old, and it probably eroded, and the stone might have just, under pressure and from the elements, just weakened and fell in.
We might go to a break right now, and we'll return in a few minutes.
You see, in ancient times, only the nobility could practice it, as only they could afford to spend time and money on it, on finding a correct site. Now, today we have the benefit of Google Earth, don't we?
Yes,
we can have a look and find formations and so forth. However, back then, they did not have this benefit. And so they would have had to employ Feng Shui masters full-time.
Yep.
The wealthy to go out and physically walk and find scout locations.
Oh.
The formation had to be water in a certain area compared to certain mountain ranges that were at the back supporting.
Yes.
So that was a full-time job. Because of that, yes, only the wealthy, obviously, could afford to pay someone full-time to do that.
Yes, well, I think that even goes without saying too in today's society.
Yeah, I mean, how much would it cost you to have a full-time PA, for example?
Yeah. Well, personal assistants don't come cheap.
Don't come cheap. So, and nowadays, I guess you really have to look at the billionaires can afford help like that. And so, however, because this is the effects of the feng shui were so strong, a Tang dynasty emperor was alarmed by the skill of a master if it was to help common people to become more powerful than him.
Yes.
Because it's a very, very strong, very powerful tool. So what the emperor did was he confiscated his the secret formula of feng shui, that master's secret formula, and then he went further and instructed a monk to write a false book of feng shui called Killing the Barbarians. So on the one hand, he took away the real stuff, and then he put out the fake stuff. However, a lot of the information in this false book has been widely spread amongst the Chinese people, and he created a lot of confusion and false information around feng shui. Now, this book no longer exists, but there is still some controversy about this book, this fake book of feng shui called Killing the Barbarians.
Well, it sounds terrible, doesn't it?
It sounds terrible. Some say that a lot of what's been instructed today is actually false.
Yes.
And it's a legacy of this book. A lot of our feng shui get that is saying, is the real thing, or is it coming from this fake book?
Oh, right.
Yep.
So
you can see the problem now.
Do you know the difference?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Literally.
Well, I'm relying on you to inform everyone who is listening at the moment so they won't be worried about listening to a false book.
Yes. Yes, very, very careful. There are actually two forms of feng shui. The more commonly known form or strand is what's called form school. So this refers to the forms and shapes in the environment, landscapes and sharp angles and so forth. And so what you just brought up about what you know of feng shui being water, mirrors, and that sort of thing.
Yes.
It's all form school because it relies on placement. And this is what most commercial feng shui books talk about. And also columns in newspapers and magazines would cover it as it's the most common knowledge. It's mostly general knowledge, not specific. So it's easy. In a way, it's easy. So it deals with visual objects. However, visual objects would only constitute a part of the feng shui influences. It will not guarantee that it's satisfying these conditions will bring good fortune immediately or the fortunes will last. So it's not customized, and it's just saying, I guess the analogy would be if you're building a house, it's the foundation.
Oh, right.
The foundations and the walls.
Yes.
But doesn't mean that you'll be entirely happy living in that house if the interior isn't designed to the way that you need.
Or you like.
Or you like, and how many rooms that you actually need.
And whether you have a roof or not.
Presumably there would be a roof, otherwise it wouldn't work.
Well, I suppose I sound a little bit vulgar there, but what I'm trying to say was that everything in the house, around the house, and everything has an importance. Would I be right in saying that?
Yes. Immediately, they're very important. And that's all we have time for this week.
Yes.
And next week, I will continue on and talk about what the other school of feng shui is, what the other strand is that you need to consider. Because, you can't, yes, because this is only one part of it. To actually to have it done properly, you need to get both strands right. And the other one is called compass school.
Right.
And this is part that is customized, kind of like now you're getting the interior designer coming in.
Well, I can say that I am personally talking to you and the people are listening. But what if someone wants to talk to you privately? Okay,
you can contact me on Facebook. Just search for Miss Dragonfly.
Oh, very good.
Or send an email to missdragonfly@easternguidance.com.
Okay.
Okay, so continuing next week.
Thank you very much And Miss Dragonfly will be back, and guaranteed, pretty well much the same time on Nostalgia Time show next Wednesday. Thank you very much.